and we'll get cracking. If anybody else joins, they can just play catch up. Okay, so right, can I suggest that we all go on mute, please, unless you want to chip in and ask a question or make a comment, which you can feel free to do so throughout the presentation. I'm sure you've all got various experiences of networking, and it would be good for us all to share those. And if we've got time at the end, we'll perhaps drop into some breakout rooms and practice a bit of networking with each other there as well. So anyway, welcome to How to Virtual Network Like a Pro. This was prompted by attending numerous networking sessions and really seeing a few people struggling with understanding what they were really doing on a networking meeting. And yeah, we often join networking sessions, and we can join them for a whole host of different reasons. And particularly during COVID times, a lot of people are using them as just as a way to get themselves out of bed in the morning to have to do something, and to just sort of touch base with a few people and make sure there is still a world alive and kicking out there outside their own four walls. But in general, people are usually looking at networking to try and grow their business. You know, that's what this session is really about. It's here to help you try and use your networking effectively to help you grow your business. So yeah, the typical virtual networking agenda, there'll be some sort of introduction by the host. And then there'll be an intros round, the dreaded 60 seconds. Now, I know Keith loves the 60-second round, not. And it might be 60 seconds, it might be 30 seconds, it might be 40 seconds. Depends on the networking group you're in and what that format is. And they might have a bell or a bleeper or a timer. But you've got up to a minute usually to introduce yourself. Then there's the 10-minute presentation, or sometimes there's a 20-minute presentation from somebody who's regular to the group, or maybe the group you're in is inviting in guest speakers to talk to the organization. Then there'll probably be maybe some breakout sessions. Not all networking groups do breakout sessions, but some do. And these can be either one-to-one or small groups of 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And then there'll be the wrap-up round or the thank yous round, where people go around the room and say who they've done business with, or pass on any leads or whatever. And broadly, the whole thing is driven around what used to be what was known as the BNI method. BNI typically follow this sort of process, but it's very rigid, very formulaic, and other networking groups have eased that a lot. And quite often when people talk about how to improve their networking, it all focuses on your 30 to 60 second pitch. So people talk about this, and networking session I've just been in, somebody who's a sales consultant does a 1-hour training course on how to build your 60-second pitch. And it's absolutely great. Lots of people get some real benefit from that. Because it can quite scary sometimes. Oh my God, what do I say? What do I do? It's my 60-second pitch, especially if you're relatively new to networking. So it is good to have an idea of what you're going to say and be prepared for it and think that through. So there's value in attending one of those sorts of sessions, and we'll touch on a little bit on the 60-second pitch a little bit later, but that's not really the core focus today, because the 60-second pitch is probably less than 2% of your meeting. So what are you going to get out of the meeting from the other 98% of that meeting? It's not about your 60-second pitch, the other 98%. It might be about other people's 60-second pitches, whatever. But the downside of the 60-second pitch is that if you've heard it all before, oh God, not again. And maybe at some point you're even saying, Oh, should I really have bothered getting out of bed for this one? This is getting really boring. I'm sure Keith will be thinking that about the 60-second pitch. Oh my God, should we be going through this death by 60-second intros? So let's talk about the other types of things around your networking meeting, other than just the 60-second pitch. As I say, I'll touch on it again later, but so your typical meeting duration is, as I said, about 90 minutes. Your pitch is less than 2% of that 90 minutes. So what about the other 98%? We've got to really make sure that we're leveraging that time, because you put an awful lot of time into a networking meeting. You want to make sure it's giving you back some value. So you really need to set yourself up for success from your networking meetings. Now, I know it's not always possible to do what I do, but I have two screens. So when I'm networking, I've got one screen in front of me, which is where the networking meeting is taking place. And I've got another screen to the right where I can actually make my notes, start following up with people, and stuff like that. Now, you can do it all on one screen if you've got the screen organized really well. But you really need to think about what works for you, best for you. And an extra screen and a splitter is not a costly setup. And if it gets you some real added value out of your networking, think about how you're going to use that. You also need to think about the other aspects of the technology. Do you have a good quality camera and microphone? Now, lots of us use laptops, and if it's quite a modern laptop, the camera and microphone on there can be quite good, but often they're not really that up to scratch. And are they in the right place? With my twin screen setup like this, I've got the laptop below the left-hand screen there. So if I use the laptop camera, I'm looking down, which means I'm not really engaging with you. I'm not looking anything like towards the camera, which means my sort of engagement level seems lower to people when I'm talking. So it can be better to have a separate camera. Likewise, if the microphone quality isn't good enough, a separate camera could have a better microphone, or perhaps you should consider using a headset of some sort. So yeah, do think about that. Think also about what's behind you. I use a virtual background. Now, if your PC is not powerful enough, you won't be able to use a virtual background. So think about what's behind you. What can people see? Because it can be really, really distracting. I've been on a networking meeting where a very nice lady was talking, and she had she got some lovely pot plants in the place where she was working, and it looked like she had a yucca plant growing out the back of her head. Really sort of quite distracting. And there can be also all sorts of that. If there are people moving around in the room, they can start to become visible on your screen, whereas if you've managed to get a virtual background, they'll be excluded. So do give that some thought, because it improves, it avoids distractions for other people, and improves the way you look and way you come across in terms of being professional. Do make sure you've got a comfortable chair. If you're working on the kitchen table all the time and you're sitting on the kitchen chairs, I mean, they're great for meals, but you don't usually just sit there for an hour at a time looking straight ahead at the screen and what have you. So you need to make sure you've got a comfortable chair, because during lockdown, you're going to be spending an awful lot of time at your desk working with your PC. You need to make sure you're ergonomically set up to really work effectively, so you don't start to get sort of back strain, neck strain, repetitive strain injury on your hands and wrists. You need to have enough space to be able to rest your wrists before you're using the keyboard and that sort of stuff. So a comfortable chair and the right technology setup is really important to making you feel comfortable, because if you're comfortable, you can focus on getting stuff out of the networking meeting. Yeah. Whereas if you're, oh God, my neck's aching, you're not really concentrating on what's going on in the meeting. You're not getting value from the meeting in what you're taking part in. And always have a drink to hand, which is really important, because when you get a frog in the throat, like I've just been getting, it's useful to have a drink. You don't have to leave the room, go find a drink, whatever like that. So always have a drink. And even if you're having a cup of tea, make sure you got some water as well, because sometimes you need a quick gulp of something, and a gulp of tea might burn your throat or whatever. So really important to have some water to hand, a drink to hand. So you're trying to make sure that you can give your attention and your focus to the meeting. And as I say, one screen is good, two screens is better, to paraphrase something from Animal Farm. Yeah, so really think about your setup and how you're going to interact in the networking session, because then you'll get more out of the session if you're better prepared in that respect. So we've talked about setting yourself up for success there with the technology, but how do you look on screen?
Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, of course, John.
One of the other things is lighting that you should
absolutely.
think about. Some, people, when you look at these Zoom meetings, some people look, as you can't see them, it's too dark or it's too bright. For instance, at the moment, because of the way the lighting is in this room, half my face is in darkness and half it's got the bloody fluorescent, and it really irritates me. I'm forever trying to shuffle. So that, and it's really distracting because I'm not thinking about the meeting. I'm always worried about this. Half this space is in darkness. And
you need to think of it from two angles, don't you, John? One is it distracting for you? And B, and secondly, is it distracting from the other people on the call? You can see from this little screenshot here from a Connect Surrey meeting that there's all sorts of different backgrounds and lighting settings, and where are you looking at on the screen as well? The session we were on just now, Paul had his camera so that it was looking at his left ear rather than looking at his eyes, and it's really it can be quite distracting. On this middle of the top here, we've got a guy who's sort of in the corner of the screen looking up, and it's more about the room behind him than it is him. You've got to think about how you are coming across in terms of how you look and how people can see you. So give that some real thought. And as you say, John, the lighting is really important as well. And you might need to work.
Can I jump in with lighting, Alan?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry. Folk might be interested in this. I've actually got two of these, which I can actually brighten or lessen. So there's one behind me over here.
Yeah.
And these I actually got off of Amazon for 50 quid.
Yeah.
We've got diffusers and all sorts of different kind of filters. Might be interested, but I actually use those. Just wanted to chuck that in. Thanks very much.
Yeah, put the details of them in the chat, Paul. That'd be really useful.
Okay, yeah, can do.
Yeah, this is all about sharing experiences, while you're on a networking call, you may need to work on something while you're attending. It might be like Keith that you're into connecting with people on LinkedIn while they're on the call, or it might be that something urgent's propped up and you just need to send a quick email, but you don't want to look totally distracted. So you could get a similar. You need to get familiar with the networking platform and how it works. But you might, for example, be able to do this. So if you look at the right-hand side of that image there, you can see my Link Business background there. And it's actually me taking a photograph of the screen to try and show you what I was talking about. But here, I'm still looking at the screen, which is why it can see me taking the photograph. But got LinkedIn up in there, and I can be searching LinkedIn while still looking at the screen, and providing you can touch type. Obviously, you have to keep looking down at the keyboard. It's less conducive, but it means I can still look as though I'm engaged with what's going on in the meeting, whilst I'm still doing a little bit of background research without people thinking, oh God, he's gone, he's not really taking part anymore. So it's an interesting, useful way to actually make sure that you still remain engaged with what's going on the screen. Because if you look disinterested, people will become less interested in you and what you do. So with networking, as I say, 98% of the meeting is not about your 60 seconds. But have you thought about what you're going to put into networking? Because the more you put into networking, the more you're going to get out. So to virtual networking like a pro, you've really got to prepare before the meeting. Why are you attending the meeting? I mentioned this right at the very start. We join networking meetings for a variety of different reasons, but why are you attending this particular meeting? Is it a new meeting you're going along to? You're trying to, are you looking to see if it's the right sort of meeting for you, to see if it's got the right sort of connections in it for you to make? Do you know in advance that you've got some potential people there you want to meet? And then what are you going to contribute to the meeting? You've got opportunities to contribute in your 60 seconds. There's also the chat box. You might be doing the 10 minutes at this meeting. What are you going to contribute? You need to give that some upfront thought before you get into the meeting, because otherwise the focus comes to you, your 60 seconds. What do I say? Have I prepared for it? So let's focus on that why for a moment. You need to set up what I call your RAS before the meeting. Now, your RAS is a part of your brain. It's your reticular activating system. And it's a part of the brain that recognizes patterns. So, for example, when my ex-wife first got pregnant, all of a sudden, wherever I went, I saw pregnant women. Now, it's not to say that around the birth of my first son that there was a huge population explosion. There wasn't. It's just that before she got pregnant, I wasn't really focused on pregnant women. I hadn't got that at the front of my mind. But once she became pregnant, it was at the front of my mind. So I started to notice all those pregnant women around. If you go and test drive a car, and you set your mind and heart on a particular make and model and color, all of a sudden you will start seeing that same make and model and color all around you. It's because your brain is heightened and is focused on looking for that sort of thing because you're aware of it. Now, if you set your RAS before you go into a networking meeting or you start a networking call, what am I looking to get out of this meeting? Who am I looking for? You're much more likely to find them in the meeting, or at least get the ones that are relevant to you highlighted in the meeting, and it makes you then able to connect with them and start to engage with them. So who is going to be there? Do you have the advanced list? There might be a pre-attendee list. I know for those of you that are like me, a part of the Kabizic networking and academy, they always publish a pre-attendee list so that you can get a list of who's coming to the meeting before you attend. They're the people that are booked on. They may not all turn up, but you can go through that list. You can research them on LinkedIn beforehand, and then perhaps you can even ask for a specific one-to-one with those of the network organizer. So it's great to be able to do that because in that particular group we do have one-to-one breakouts, and if you want a specific one-to-one with a particular person, you can ask if that person turns up, can I have a one-to-one with them? Now, most people don't bother. Which means you're likely to get the one-to-ones you want if you do take the trouble. It's all about that prep. What am I looking to get out of the meeting? Why am I attending? How can I maximize the value of being at this networking meeting? And then what is your real objective for being there? Yeah, quite often people go along to a networking meeting and think, oh, there's nobody in here that wants to buy my stuff. Well, that shouldn't be your objective in attending a networking meeting, because people don't buy from people on the first meet. Yeah, the first time you meet somebody, you're not likely to get them to buy something from you. It does happen occasionally, but it's not the norm. Yeah, people buy from people that they got to know, like, and trust. And that's why if you go to networking meetings, the best results come when you actually consistently attend that meeting and consistently show up. John's on from Connect Surrey. We were both on a Connect Surrey meeting earlier today, and there were 1 or 2 new people there, and they all said actually how well connected we all seem to be and how supportive we were of each other. That's because the majority of people at that meeting are regular attendees, and they do business with each other because they got to know each other over a period of months or even years, and therefore they built that trust, and they get business from each other. But even more importantly, the people in the room may not be your target market, but the people they know could well be your target market. So you have to network through the room. So it's really important when you do your 60 seconds, you tell people what you're looking for, because when they know, like, and trust you, because they've seen you turn up regularly and they've got to know you through your one-to-ones and through breakout 10 minutes presentations, they know what you're looking for. They will recommend you to others. And we had there's a not just travel consultant in that group that we were on this morning. He gets a lot of work from within the actual group itself, but he gets even more work from the people that they recommend to him, because they know that he will sort out their travel requirements. And during COVID, he's been rebooking and getting cancellations sorted and money back and all that sort of stuff. So he's really proved his worth. And so people are really willing to recommend him outside of the network, beyond the room. And that's what you want to try and achieve. You want to network through the room so that people recommend you outside the room. So it's really, really important that you think through what's your objective for attending and what am I going to get out of this. So as I say, network through the room. The attendees may not be, that should be TT, not YY. Need to spell check my slides in future. The what. What are you going to contribute to the meeting? Yes, there'll be your 30, 60 seconds, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But there's also your message in the chat. Now, the chat can get very, very busy. So you want your chat message to stand out. So this is a typical message from me into a chat box. Put a couple of stars in beforehand, so there's a bit of white space before my entry. Then I put stars around my name so that people can pick me out easier, and stars at the end again to create more white space after my entry, so that when people go back over the chat, it's easy for them to pick my message out. So if they decide that they want to connect with me, it's very easy for them to find my message in the chat. You need to think about that. Now, your message in the chat needs to be fairly succinct. I know Keith sort of says to it, if you can't say it in a tweet, then it's too long. And that's probably about right. Even a tweet might be too long now that they've doubled the size of tweets. Because in some networking meetings, I see people put a whole diatribe of stuff in there about them and their business. It's just, and it ends up just as a long block of text. Or then they put all host of different networking opportunities there for them, their Instagram, their Facebook, their LinkedIn, their website. It's too much. Simplify it down. Your networking, and in my books, the core networking platform for you to connect with people is LinkedIn. So I would recommend you have your link to your LinkedIn profile, and that you have maybe one other link or maybe two other links at the most in there if there's something specific. So here, and in this message is my LinkedIn profile, and there was a link there to book on for this virtual networking like a pro session. So give some thought as to what your chat message is like. Always put yourself in the shoes of the reader. How easy is it for the reader to actually get something from my chat message? And if it's a long diatribe of text, people are going to get bored, switch off, and skip past it. And what might you say in the wrap-up round?
Alan,
any thought? Yes, John.
I obviously do what you've just described, but for my Facebook one, should I put Blue Dot or should I put myself? Because at the moment, my Facebook one that I promote is Blue Dot's page. So should I? What do you? I mean, I don't know. I don't suppose either's wrong.
It depends on your market, John, and who you're going to get business from. For you, I would imagine it's better to have your Blue Dot display business page if you're going to put Facebook in there. But where do you get connections from? Where do you get leads from? Does it come through Facebook, or is it better off in just LinkedIn? In your networking meeting, I would suggest that you're better off using your LinkedIn profile and maybe a link to your website rather than a multitude of other social media platforms. Because if they come and see you on LinkedIn and you've got the right LinkedIn impression, which I'll talk about towards the end, then they're going to connect with you.
Yeah, that one's in there too. So maybe because I got my LinkedIn personal, me, John Lloyd, then the Facebook one is to have the business page for Blue Dot, I suppose.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's got to be what works for you. There's no hard and fast rule. But if you're running your own business, your LinkedIn profile is going to be about you in your business, most likely, or it should be, I would recommend. And therefore, I would always suggest you use your personal LinkedIn profile and drive people to connect with you through that, because that way they're much more likely to know, like, and trust you. Facebook is okay, but its trust value is about half of that of LinkedIn. So that's why I always recommend LinkedIn is used. And remember, givers gain. Yeah, in networking, if you are freely giving of your links, your connections, your time, your advice, people will see you as somebody that is willing to help others. And that induces a natural reciprocity feature in the human brain, and people want to give back. There are a few people out in the world that are just pure takers, but for the majority of business people you will come across, if you see somebody giving, you feel much more inclined to help them and give them. So always remember, givers gain. We'll mention that again later. Your 60-second pitch. I've got an extraneous bit of text in there. I don't know what that's doing there. It's often not what you say, but how you say it. And you really need to think about how you say it, because in my networks, there are some people there that don't prepare their 60-second pitch, and they go, I'm not sure what to say today. And they spend their first 15 seconds saying that they're not sure what to say, which is a bit daft because you've got a limited amount of time. You ought to be prepared, and you ought to be able to speak about your business. But then I also see other people, they've been on a 60-second course and they've got their script really nailed. It encompasses everything they want to talk about. And you see them sitting there reading from the script in a monotone voice. And it is so boring. It's so boring. It's the same old. You hear it time and time again. They say the same old things. They are reading from a script. And even if they've learned the script off by heart, it still sounds really, really boring. If you can't think about what your customers might want from you, and think about what's in it for them, and be able to give them that value, then what are you in business for? If you can't speak for 30 to 60 seconds enthusiastically about your business without a script, Christ, you are in trouble. Your business is really, really in difficulty. Yeah. So start to get spontaneous, start to get a bit more enthusiastic, and really sort of get in the groove, for Christ's sake. Stop being so monosyllabic and really scripted and boring, and it's just they drive me around the bend. As you can see, I'm getting to quite so think about what's in it for the customer. Don't say, I'm a chartered accountant with 10 years experience and I really help you focus on the tax, so customers not really interested in how long you've been in business or what you really do. It's more about ways that they can help you. So if you've got a property portfolio and you're worried about the tax implications of that, I help customers minimize their property taxes, move their property into a limited company scenario so that they're not impacted by restrictions on mortgages, and we can do that without any tax liability implications to you, and enable you to draw down a massive amount of capital at no tax implications to you straight away. So book a one-to-one with me and let's have a chat. Now, that's a lot more enthusiastic and a lot more exciting than reading a monotone thing which lists out a whole load of technical details. Yeah. Try and think about what you're really trying to get across and how you want to engage with clients in your 60 seconds. And then, mix it up as well. Don't say the same thing every week. Your 60-second pitch for a new networking session where you've never been before, or for the first couple of times at that, might be the same, because you want to start to get the other members that are regularly there to know who you are and what you do. But after that, once they've heard it a couple of times, it gets a bit tedious, which is why Keith switches off and goes playing with LinkedIn instead. If you want to engage with people, make it a bit different. Introduce something, do a screen share. We've got a photographer in the group we were in this morning, and he often puts up a few shots of the latest project he's been working on. Just shows how he can demonstrate in that how he can help you if you've got a product you want to sell, or if you need a headshot or something like that. So find ways of actually brightening up the 60 seconds, changing it up a bit, making it a bit different. And if you're looking for something specific, we talked about networking through the room. So there might not be people in the room that you could actually employ or could actually employ you as a supplier, but they may know people that could. So you want to talk to them about who they know that can help you, so that you can actually work through the room and get clients from their connections. So it's really important that you do think that through and understand what you're trying to get out of your 60 seconds. And maybe offer a tip or talk about a testimonial, for example, or an example of work you've done. I said the photographer, he's giving some shots of what he's done, so that's great. So I often on LinkedIn, I will give somebody a tip on LinkedIn as part of my 60 seconds. Deliver some value. Yeah, help your customer, help your potential customers out, help your networkers, fellow networkers out. So just a few tips there around the 60 seconds. If you really want to hone that pitch and you want to find somebody that can help you hone that pitch, I've got somebody great in my network that does a great 1 hour course on 60 seconds. Be happy to put you in touch with him. Heard good things about his 60-second course. But you really got to think about what you're trying to do and not be the same old, and make your 60 seconds interesting. If you can get Keith interested in your 60 seconds, then you're really doing well. Breakout rooms. As I say, not all networking sessions have breakout rooms, but I think they're really valuable. And I'd encourage, if you know somebody who runs a networking group and they're not using them, I'd encourage you to talk to them about trying to introduce a couple of little breakout rooms into the session, because when you get a chance one-to-one to talk to somebody, you get to know them that little bit better. Now, often breakout rooms are only a few minutes, but you need to be prepared. So if there are breakout rooms, what are you going to be saying in that breakout room? You can ask to meet them. You might be able to ask to meet specific attendees and get the pre-list. And do you remember what they said in the intro? So you go into breakout rooms after the intro, and you haven't been listening to people's 60 seconds. You're going to waste time in the breakout room finding out what they actually do because you weren't listening the first time around. And it's always much more, makes you look much better if you go into a breakout room and say, "Oh, hi, Julia. I see you're so you do print and web design. Yeah, that's great. Tell me, what sort of clients are you looking for?" Yeah, you're doing the giver's game. You're asking about her business and asking how you can help her. And she'll naturally reciprocate because that's what we do as human beings. So think about making notes. When I'm on a networking session. We had 2 or 3 new people in the session this morning, and I deliberately made a note of what they do from their 60 seconds so that if I do engage with them, I can remember what they do. I haven't got to scratch around and try and work it out, or try and find the right person on LinkedIn. Because if they haven't put their LinkedIn profile connection in there, sometimes it can be very hard to find people on LinkedIn because they might have a fairly common name. So, and in these breakout sessions, do not sell or pitch to them. Yeah, that's not what the breakout session's about. It's about developing the relationship. It's deepening that relationship. And that's what you want to do in a breakout session. Try and arrange perhaps to organize a one-to-one. Yeah, you really need to listen to what they say and listen to understand rather than listen to find the next opportunity to speak yourself. Yeah, that's what a good listener does. They listen to what other people are saying and then interact with what they're saying rather than looking for an opportunity to either negate what they're saying or to pitch your own business. That's not good listening. That's not active listening. You need to be an active listener on networking if you want to make it really effective. And as I say, givers gain. Who can you connect them to? I said on the meeting this morning, there's a couple of things. I've got somebody I want to talk to about an opportunity for them, and there's somebody else that I could help with some advice on. They haven't yet got their website up, so I suggested that they use LinkedIn and company pages as a quick and easy to create alternative to a website until they've got a full-blown website up and running. So givers gain. That's a really important point. And would a one-to-one be worthwhile? If you've started to find out a little bit more about this person, talk to them and say, well, should we have a one-to-one where we can, take this conversation a bit further? That might well be useful, and then you might start to really get some traction with that relationship and through them to their connections. So during the meeting, one of the problems with Zoom is that you've got this big array of in gallery view of people, and it's difficult to see who's speaking and who's not speaking or what have you, and you don't really get the focus. Whereas if you put yourself on speaker view when the 60 seconds is on, the person that's speaking at the time comes front and center on your screen. And you see who's speaking, you can actually engage with them better, and for later on, it's a great way of remembering who they are. You will be much more aware of them. So really put yourself into speaker view and listen to what the attendees are saying. Take some notes. I took some notes from the new members in the room. Because I wanted to make sure that I understood what they do, so that if I get a chance to or feel it's worthwhile having a one-to-one with them, I've got some notes and I can actually show that I listened. Because if you show somebody that you listened to what they were talking about, it helps develop that relationship a lot faster. Yeah, much faster. So it's really, really important. And also take notes of some of your existing connections. If they've got something new or they're asking for something different, make a note of it so that you can help them out. And keep an eye on the chat. You might have a direct message. And so when the chat gets really busy, it's sometimes a bit difficult to track back. So you need to keep an eye on the chat. I often have the chat actually in the middle of the screen, just below the camera, so I can keep an eye on the chat, see what's going on. So if anyone sends me a direct message, I can still be looking at everybody in the eye from the camera, but I can see the chat message come up. I can respond to that chat message instantly and respond to people so that they know that I'm paying attention to them too. So it's really, really important that you keep an eye on the chat. And then connect on LinkedIn if you have time. If you've got a few people in your networking group that are of the ilk that do the same old, and you know what they're going to say, and you don't really want to nod off, then use that time to go and connect or find the new people in the group and maybe send them a connection request. I did do that to one person this morning because it was getting a bit boring, and I thought, I'll take the opportunity. I'll send a quick connection request, but I did it on the screen in front of me here so that nobody knew I was looking away and doing other stuff. So yeah, it's all about leveraging your time in that meeting to maximum effect. Now, saving the chat. So here's a typical chat box message here. And if you click on the three dots there, you can then save the chat, and it will save it down as a text file onto a pre-designated place on your PC, depending on how your Zoom's set up. And what that looks like is a bit like that. And it gives you a time, who the message is from, who it's to, and the message itself. Not particularly user-friendly. And even if you then take that and paste it into Word, you've still got all the extraneous timings and stuff like that. So not great, not really user-friendly. If instead you right-click on the chat, anywhere in the chat itself, right-click on it, and then a button will come up, select all. So click select all, and then if you do Control C to copy it, or you right-click again, it would come up with the copy option. Then you could paste it using Control V or Edit Paste into something like OneNote or Evernote or a Word document, which is an HTML document, and that will bring up all of the HTML links. So this is my chat pasted into OneNote, and it automatically brings up the HTML. So those are now clickable links, all in my OneNote. And we'll talk a little bit more about how I use OneNote in just a moment. And it makes it so much easier to use the chat after the meeting. If it's in Word or OneNote or something like that, you can also search. So I knew I'd had a couple of messages to me in the previous networking event. So I was able to paste it into OneNote, and then I could use the search function in OneNote to find every instance where somebody had messaged me directly. So I could make sure that if I hadn't actually messaged them back in the meeting, I could follow up with their connection details or contact details and message them after the meeting and send them what they'd asked for, or talk to them about what they wanted, or send them an invite for a one-to-one or whatever it is. It's a great way of actually being able to connect with people and get value from the meeting outside the meeting afterwards. So I use a networking template. I use OneNote. You could use something like Evernote. You could use Word. Basically, anything else that has is an HTML-based document, not Notepad, which is just a text editor. Because Notepad is what effectively the saving the chat creates. So you want to, and this is my OneNote template. Now, anyone wants this, I have saved it down as a separate file. I will send it to you. You can also create it in Word. And you see here, I've got OneNote and I've got networking as a tab up here. And these are all the networking meetings.
Alan, are these OneNote and Evernote free, or are they?
OneNote is definitely free from Microsoft. Anyone can have a copy of OneNote. Evernote is free, I think, or it used to be free across all devices. Now I think Evernote is free across 2 devices. So if you want to use it on more than 2 devices, you have to pay for it. I think it's 2, it might be 3, I can't remember. I stopped using Evernote because I get OneNote and it's just as good. You can, there are all sorts of features in OneNote. It enables you to do website clippings and stuff like that. It's really hugely powerful. But just in terms of organizing yourself and doing things, OneNote is a really good tool. So I have this template, and all I do is I right-click on it, copy, and then paste where I want the next page to be, and I create a tag for each of the networking meetings that I go to. And in there, before the meeting, I will prepare with what my RAS is, what am I looking to get out of the meeting, what's my message in the chat going to be. So I create that message so that it's ready to go. And all I've got to do is cut and paste it into the chat box. What's the focus of my 60 second pitch? If you still want a script, maybe you write a script in there and have it on the screen when it's your turn. It might be I might have in there a reminder that I actually want to show a PowerPoint slide or something like that. Whatever my 60-second pitch is going to be. Notes, any interesting points made by the people to follow up with. I was putting there things like new people, what they do, that sort of stuff. And then, and then at the bottom there is the chat. So beneath that heading there is where I would paste my chat. And it would come in pretty much the format I showed you on the previous slide. That means it's then clickable. All the links are clickable. It's all saved there. And I've got a record going back all the meetings. And if somebody says to me, "Oh, you know, the meeting we were on 2 weeks ago, did you know that? Do you have the details of the person that was talking about? Oh, what were they talking about? Oh, yeah, they were a wills person. Have you got their details?" I just go back into the meeting, scroll through the chat, search in the chat for their name because I'll know who they are, and I can then pass on those details.
I've just had OneNote on my PC, so that's
yeah, and if you set it up so that you're syncing your OneNote your notes to iCloud or to the Microsoft Cloud or Dropbox or wherever, you can use it multiply across multiple devices, John, and you know, always see the most up-to-date position. So you can have it on your work PC, on your home PC, on your phone, your tablet, wherever. It's a great way of making sure everything is accessible to you. So that's my template. If anyone wants that, pop a message in the chat, and I with your contact details, and I'll send you a OneNote file, and if you prefer it in Word, let me know, and I'll send it to you in Word format if you wish. So the money though from networking is in the follow-up. Yeah, you very rarely do business at networking. You might do business as a result of networking, but to grow your network and develop that network, you really need to do some follow-up. And the best tool to use to follow up is, in my opinion, and I would say that's because I'm a LinkedIn coach, but I think it is the best place for networking because it's like online networking 24/7. It's LinkedIn. So connect with people on LinkedIn, follow them on other social media networks and channels if it's appropriate. But you should be able to find most of those channels through LinkedIn or through their website. So LinkedIn is the best starting place, and then book some one-to-ones. Get to know people better. Get to know them a bit deeper. Tell them that it's an opportunity for you to tell them about your business as well as finding out about their business and see how you can help each other. And remember, no selling though. The follow-up isn't about a sales pitch. The follow-up is about how you can help each other. If you get this right, and you have your engagement right and your LinkedIn profile right, then they will ask to buy from you. You won't need to sell to them. It's making the selling easy. So you need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile gives a great first impression and has all the right stuff on it, links to the right places in your business, has your contact info in there, all that sort of stuff. And this is how it looks on desktop and mobile. Remember, of course, that most people will be looking you up on a mobile phone. Quite often people have networking up on their PC and then they're using a mobile phone to find people on LinkedIn and connect with them. So you need to make sure that you're creating the right first impression. If you want to find out more about how to do that, come along and talk to me. We can book a one-to-one profile session or join in one of my networking groups. And that's where the LinkedIn Business Mastermind comes in, where we have weekly mastermind calls where I deal with my members' challenges on LinkedIn. And we often go off piste a little bit and touch on things outside of LinkedIn because LinkedIn shouldn't be considered in isolation for your business. It's just part of your overall business. It's a key part. It's a core component of your business if you're a small business owner, but it's not the only thing. We also have a LinkedIn group to support you. We have 2 posting challenges a month. John and I has taken part in that. Damon takes part in those challenges. This is where we get together, typically on a Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock, every 2nd and 4th Wednesday of the month. And we all post at the same time, and we all then comment and like each other's posts. It's important that the comments you make during this exercise are meaningful and start a conversation. And then if you do that and then go back and reply to those comments, the reach and value of your post will be enhanced. The LinkedIn algorithm kicks in, gets you more reach, and people are getting new connections and making sales and getting business from as a result of doing these challenges. So that's a really good thing to do. We also run additional masterclasses. There'll be one coming up later this month on Sales Navigator. We're also developing something called the Real Star Profile Assessment. LinkedIn tells you whether or not you've got an all-star profile, but that's a load of rubbish, because their assessment is based on how many sections of the profile you filled in, not what you put in there. The Real Star Profile assesses the value of your LinkedIn profile, and we're developing that, and members will be scoring their profiles and understanding what they need to do to improve their profiles going forward. Later this month, we're going to start podcast interviews as well. Your Profile, Your Business, for members that have been with us for 3 months. And I'm also revamping my entire LinkedIn Mastery training program, which takes you through all aspects of how to use and build LinkedIn. And it's again open for members that have been with the mastermind for more than 3 months. And all of that just costs £37 a month. Individual challenges, you can come and join us for an individual challenge. You want to try it out, that's £20 a time. So you're going to see that you're already saving money. Just if you just want to do both the challenges each month, it's better to become a member of the group, because you get all the other benefits for £3 less than it costs you for 2 challenges. So much more worthwhile. So any questions on networking like a pro? I've obviously bored Keith to tears. He's gone off to make himself some coffee somewhere.
No, I'm still lurking here, Alan.
Still lurking.
Yeah.
Having done networking for 10 years, I don't actually use a database. So
Hey.
I just go off at a slight tangent and talk about databases.
Yeah, go on then, John.
Well, I don't know any, so because I don't use them.
What do you want to use a database for, John?
So I can look people up, because I'm getting old and forgetful.
Right. When you say look
No.
people up, are you trying to look up customers, clients, prospects?
Well, it's more your recommendation one, just, somebody needs an accountant. I can search on a database for the 6 or 7 accountants I've met in the last few years. I don't know.
There's a thing called LinkedIn, John. That's the database you need. It's the
Okay.
it's
I
free.
don't know.
It's a database of everybody in the world who's in business. And if you just use all your connections, put all your connections into LinkedIn, it maintains it for you. It's a self-updating database. So if they change jobs, phone numbers, emails, they'll change it for you. So you don't have to update it. You don't have to hold the data. So there's no GDPR implications, because you're not holding it. It's on LinkedIn. It's freely given. So everybody you meet at networking, and your customers and your suppliers, you should just be connected to them, and then you just trawl through your connections and you can find them. And you can also follow any conversations you've had with them on the past. If you've had the conversation on LinkedIn in a thread, it goes on. It's just the world's biggest free business database that you can use alongside anything else, but it's certainly well worth using.
Indeed, Keith. The issue with LinkedIn is you can't tag your connections. So you can't segment and group them in any way. You used to be able to, and it's a feature that was taken away. I think you can still do it in Sales Navigator, but you can't in the standard free version. So once you've amassed quite a few connections, trying to find the right one, as you say, or how many accountants do you know, John? Trying to find within your connections the 5 accountants that you are connected to can be a bit tricky. So if you're people like BNI will teach you how to collect. In fact, they'll even give you a little wallet where you can collect everybody's business card and you can segment it and do that. But you're really talking about a CRM system there, John.
Yeah, CRM system.
Yeah, so that's a whole different ball game. And if you want to talk CRMs, happy to have a one-to-one with you and give you some input on CRMs. That's the sort of thing we would talk about at the hub in normal times. We had sessions on CRMs, and there are a whole host of different options for you depending on the number of connections that you want to, or number of contacts you want to have in there, whether you want it to actually drive your sales funnel as well, so you can see how you're taking them through the sales process. Are they just a connection? Are they a connection where you've got a potential lead? Have you had that meeting to convert that lead into a sales proposal? Have you sent the proposal? Have you done the follow-up? Have you signed the contract? You can break it down into your sales process, your marketing and sales and lead conversion process. And there are all different types of systems out there depending on what you're trying to do. So it's all about understanding what your requirement is, John, before going off and buying into a new system.
Yeah, I don't have a system.
One-to-one if you want to chat.
I've always felt slightly conscious that I don't have a CRM or any database.
Yeah.
Other than about 200 business cards on a shelf to my right.
Right, pick those cards up, John, get them into your LinkedIn connections if you're not connected to them on LinkedIn, and then throw the card away because it's out of date. So just get connected to them first and foremost, get them in your LinkedIn world. Then you can download your LinkedIn connections into an Excel spreadsheet if you need to manipulate them in any way, if you do end up going to a CRM. But LinkedIn's there for you already. Why not use it and get rid of those business cards? And you know, by connecting to them on LinkedIn, you'll get their latest details. And if they've changed emails or phone numbers, the business card could be out of date.
Yeah, business cards are a point in time connection. Not
well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, and even your CRM is only a point in time because it's only as up to date as the data that you feed into it. So you should be regularly checking your CRM against things like LinkedIn. I always recommend, once you have a CRM system, you make sure you connect with everybody on LinkedIn and have their LinkedIn profile connection as one of the fields in your CRM system. So you can, even if you find that person, you just say, oh, I haven't spoken to him for a long time in your CRM system. Click on his link in the link that you got there into his LinkedIn profile to check he's still doing what he was doing when you met him. And if not, he's doing something different. That could be the opportunity for you to go back to him and have a chat.
Yeah.
And see his activity. And if he's posted anything on LinkedIn at all, you'll be able to see it. And then you can go in and comment on it and say, oh, we haven't spoken for a while. I see you've commented on LinkedIn. That was very interesting. Should we have a chat? So easy.
As I say, John, if you want to have a chat about CRMs,
not really. I just feel a bit guilty that I don't know quite. Yeah, I'm terrible with names and memories, so I just wanted something.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry about it, Jack. I mean, John.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody said, "Oh, I'm looking for an accountant." And I've been doing networking for 10 years or whatever, so I know.
You know a few
accountants, and maybe I shouldn't worry. I should only just the one I've known for the first name that usually pops into the name is the one you know the best or the most. So
probably the one you use.
Maybe I'm over worrying about something I shouldn't really worry about.
Yeah, relax. Don't worry, John. It'll be fine.
You've actually just given me an idea of, because I'm actually building my own CRM at the moment for my own use, and I've just checked there are APIs for LinkedIn, so I may include a link through to all my LinkedIn's thing on the CRM, and so it can flag up when they've done something different.
One of the reasons Microsoft bought LinkedIn was so that it could link it into all its Office 365 products, and in particular its Dynamics products around sales and accounting and CRM. It was one of the core benefits of buying LinkedIn for Microsoft.
I did wonder.
It strengthens their other products. Bye, Keith.
Got to go, Alan. Thank you very much. See you, everybody. Have a good one.
Cheers, Keith.
Just a quick one for you, Damon. You're using a virtual background there?
I am, yes, because I'm doing some teaching via Zoom.
Right.
And of course, because I'm in this room at the moment, but I'm playing around with the virtual background. In fact, it was the reason why I had to update my microphone and my camera, etc. But yeah, I realised this one makes me a disembodied head, which
it's not only that, but your lettering is in reverse to the.
You're in reverse. Your lettering looks right to you, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. What happens? My lettering, looking at myself on the screen, makes it look like yours in reverse, but actually you're all seeing it the right way around. So
I've got to
create your virtual background, keep it as it should be. It'll appear wrong to you, but to everybody else, it appears right.
All of that writing behind my right shoulder looks backwards to me.
Right, I didn't realise that's how.
It's a weird feature of Zoom that it does it that way around. Yeah.
Alan, can I ask you a question, please?
Of course, Paul.
I might have missed this because there's too much information coming at me. What is CRM again?
Customer Relationship Management System.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's where you put all of your customers and prospects, and you use it to manage your relationship with them, to see when you've interacted with them, when you haven't interacted with them, And some people use it as their sales pipeline tool as well, to work out what stage a connection or a contact is in the sales process. So it can be really useful. Lots of tools around most of them are online tools these days. But yeah, the common ones are things like Act or Salesforce, there's also HubSpot is another big one that a lot of companies use.
Very big, very complicated, a lot of them.
Yeah, they can be. Yeah, so
Which
it's
is
all
why
about
I'm building very small.
Yeah, it's all about defining what your requirement is, and then choosing the right, most cost-effective solution for what you want to achieve. You can buy something that is humongous, and you'll use 1% of it, and you'll be paying, but still be paying for the other 99%, which you perhaps don't need. So, again, happy to have a one-to-one if you wanted to chat, Paul, and talk about it in more detail.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've written a number in the past for companies, and my experience, especially when you're configuring them for people, is that most people, as Alan just said, are paying for functionality that, one, they either don't know exists, or two, actually, for most people, don't need. The likes of Salesforce has got so much, and people pay way above the odds because they pay for functionality that they really don't need.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a charity spend 100 grand on configuring Salesforce, starting from the charities package, which was off the shelf, and still ended up costing them 100 grand to get it actually configured to what they wanted. So you can end up spending a lot of money for not what you want.
Yeah.
Which is the downside a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, if I've answered all the questions for the time being, we are just slightly over time. If you've got any questions come to you later, connect with me on LinkedIn and ping me a message. I'll try and answer the questions for you.
I think I just make more effort to connect with people on LinkedIn. I don't know why I'm quite so selective, as if I'm sort of almost being secretive.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, get yourself out there, John.
Okay, cheers then.
Good to see you, everybody. Speak to you soon. Take care. The link will go up, and I'll send you a link to the recording on my YouTube channel. Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Great. Thank you very much.